Hi there, today I'm going to be creating this old school RuneScape inspired character in Blender. We will grab the references from in-game which we will use to build out our model. We will then apply materials, and using a simple add-on we will generate a rig for the model. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab some references from in-game. Here is my RuneScape character. If you're curious, here are my stats. I want my character to look like the default model that you get when you start the game. I'm going to quickly just change my character. I'm going to make my character emote in a way that somewhat resembles a T-pose. I can get a frame from that, that'll be perfect. We'll get it from this side as well. Okay, so I've got these two images that I've taken from RuneScape. They don't have to be perfectly aligned because I'm going to line them up when I'm inside of Blender. We can just save this image and go jump into Blender. Okay, so now in Blender, we are going to get our references. Find the image on my hard drive, and I'm going to drag that into Blender. It does put it at a weird angle. If we want to fix that, we just have to press Alt-G, Alt-R and Alt-S to set all of its rotation scale and location to 0. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees on the X-axis and rotate it 90 degrees on the Z-axis, and bring it up a little bit and move it back a little bit, and then move it a little bit to the right so that we're in the center of this line. This cube is actually in the way, so I'm going to quickly get rid of that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to our data tab and check the opacity slider and turn the opacity down a little bit. I'm going to try and line it up somewhat with the axis lines, and then I'm going to copy and paste this and rotate that Z 90 degrees, and then get the side view lined up. Okay, with that done, I'm now going to add a cube. And then I'm going to go over to the object properties, and in viewport display just set the back one to be in front, and also do the same thing to the side view, just so I can see while I'm also modeling. And I'm going to start with the shirt. We're also going to go into wireframe mode, just so we can just click and drag to grab all of the vertices rather than having to grab them individually like this. Now what I'm going to do is use this cube. I'm going to make it about the same size here, and then I'm going to go in and add more detail to it. You can see here where the shirt comes in to make a waist. I'm going to put a loop cut by doing Control R, going down to where that little dip is, and then grabbing these vertices, pressing S to scale and dragging them in a little bit. And then I'm going to look at the side view to get an idea of what kind of thickness I need to go for. The perspective that I've taken the reference images in isn't exactly the greatest, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of work around that, but it does give us some reference to what we're making. If you look there, there's a slight dip about halfway down the model where the stomach is, so I'm just going to grab that and bring that in a little bit. We don't want to do everything on one side and then do it all on the other side. We're going to make a loop cut down the center of our mesh and right click to place that, and we're going to delete one side of it. We're then going to go over to our modifiers tab and add a mirror modifier and make sure that is set on the correct axes. Turn on clipping and then bring these together so that they actually clip together. Yep, nice. So now anything we do on one side of our model should translate over to the other side. I'm now going to create two loop cuts going down vertically and two loop cuts going across horizontally in a general area of where the arm is going to be, which I think is about here. Another loop cut down the center of this piece to serve as where the neck is going to come out of here. Grab the vertices that are responsible for the armhole, and I'm going to extrude them out. I just need the general shape now. I can work on the detail afterwards. So we have these. We're then going to put another loop cut here in the center of the shoulder, so we can then start shaping up the shoulder. It is quite hard to see what the shoulder looks like from the side, so I'm actually going to bring up the opacity on that image. I'm going to grab this face here at the end of the arms, inset by pressing I, and bring that in a little bit. Go back to front view, E to extrude, and then we're going to bring that out to the elbow. We're then going to match up the vertices to whereabouts they should be according to the image. Extrude the elbow down to the wrist, bring that down, and extrude the hand. Then put in some loop cuts to shape this up a bit. I'm also going to make sure there's a loop cut here so we can just color that different color later. We're going to grab the edge loop that is around our wrist, and we're going to bevel it by pressing Ctrl B to give it a bit more geometry for deforming. We're going to do the same thing on the elbow. The arms are looking a bit flat, so I'm going to put a loop cut right down the middle of them. Grab the edges going down the arm by clicking on the first one, then Control left click there, and control left click on the other side, and it will take the shortest path to it. I'm then going to press S to scale and expand that on the X axis a little bit to give it a bit more of a rounded look. I'm going to turn on solid mode, grab these edges here, here, and here, and here, press scale and scale them inwards. I'm also going to grab these edges and bring them in a little bit. I'll then grab this face here, right in the middle. I'm going to go to side view, press E to extrude and bring that up to around about there where the head starts and give it a bit of a rotation. As you can see, this isn't lining up right, but that is okay. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to resemble. I'm going to do another extrude up to the chin area and the front view, bring these sides in. This is the neck, you can't really see the neck from there, so we're just going to bring these in to form our character's neck. What is happening there? And then we are going to just extrude up. I'm going to loop cut down the middle, and we're just going to slowly build out the detail again and start lining stuff up on side view as well. Now you can't, I don't know if you can really see it, but there is kind of an area where the eyebrows would be here. And I think that is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that slightly and bring it out a bit more. Put another loop cut here and bring that in. So this area is going to be our eyes. Jump down to where the belt is, grab all of the bottom faces, and we're going to E to extrude out the belt, then E to extrude down to where the legs split up. Press G, bring them out a little bit, and then I'm going to go over to our mirror modifier, turn clipping off, and extrude out again, but this time split the legs up. Because everything's copying from one side to the other, I'm only going to use one of these legs to model it. I'm going to do some loop cuts, bring in the legs around where the knee is. I'm going to bring these out here. See how we're looking on the side view. Yeah, we're going to actually try and rotate that and match it up with this leg. Now another way that we can make something look a bit more rounded is just by grabbing the edges that are on the corner and edge sliding them like this. If you press, I need to turn clipping back on, and then edge sliding them by pressing GG, and you can give it a bit more of a rounded look to it. I'm going to do the same on this side, going from the shoulder down to the feet. So click on the shoulder, then press control click on the bottom of the feet, GG, and there we go. That's looking a bit more rounded. And do the same here, GG. Gonna have to round the body a little bit, I think. I'm going to do a similar thing to the face. I'm going to make this a bit more straight. Now for the feet, I'm going to click on these four faces, press I to insert and bring them in a little bit. Once that's brought in, we're going to press E to extrude, bring it down to about there, give it a bit of a turn. We're going to put a loop cut right at the top, grab these two faces that are at the front of the foot, extrude, bring them out, G, Z to bring it down, and then SZ to give it a bit more of a foot looking shape. We're going to make this more rounded using the same technique of grabbing the corners, GG to edge slide them like that. RuneScape characters do have ears, I think. I'm fairly certain they have ears. I don't really know if I don't think I've ever actually checked if old school RuneScape characters have ears. They kind of have a dip that goes in and then comes back out. So going to grab what I think would be where the ear is. I'm going to I to insert, bring that in, make it a bit more of a reasonable shape for an ear. Whoa, what is happening there? Oops. Scale on the S, rotate it a bit, and bring it in. I'm going to grab the face that's underneath that face, bring that out, and scale it down. And we've got kind of looking ear thing. Going to go around and quickly try and get the shape more accurate using loop cuts. Then I'm going to bevel the knees for the same reason that I beveled the elbows, so we have a bit more geometry for deformation. I think where the belt is will be okay, but I think the belt isn't actually thick enough. So I'm going to bring that down a bit. That is not how chins work. This dude is missing a chin. But that's okay, because the beard will probably cover it anyway. There's two ways we could do the beard. We could either cut out the beard using the knife tool and then extrude it out. But what I'm going to do is actually just create another cube. And I'm just going to create the shape on a cube and then stick it to his face. I'm also going to hide the model just for a second so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to split this cube like this using Ctrl R for loop cuts and slowly start putting them into position. God, I did not make this easy for myself. I could have just probably got a reference from online, but I like the idea. Doesn't need to be super thick, we can make that thin. Bring him back in, set it to solid, and then position. Yeah, that looks weird. I think because the beard needs to, we're going to grab these back faces, and I'm just going to drag them into the model. Give them a bit of rotation on the y-axis, drag them up. I'm going to put a loop cut down the center just so we can make this a bit more normal looking, I suppose. Okay, that looks a bit strange. We are going to use the knife tool to cut out our eyes. The eyes on the RuneScape are kind of like little diamonds. Go knife tool, start here, go down, and cut out a little diamond-like shape. We're going to click on the shape we just cut out, E to extrude, and bring it in ever so slightly. Now we're going to slap some color on this bad boy. So we jump over to our shading tab, and down here we're going to create a new material. So the first color we're going to do is our character's skin. For that I'm just going to grab this, press the eyedropper, and I'm going to click on our character's image to give us a rough skin tone. Obviously you can make this lighter, darker, you can make the character green if you want. Make sure you name each of your materials. So this one is skin. I'm then going to create a new slot. Go into edit mode. We're then going to go and grab all of our character's torso. And we're going to go down to our slots, click on our new slot and press assign, create a new material, and we're going to make this a olive green. I'm going for the color scheme that is like the default for when you start up a RuneScape character. We then grab where the belt would be, assign another slot, assign that to the third one, new material, I'm going to call this belt, and that is like a reddy brown, a very dark color. We then grab the entire leg of our character, and we're going to color that a dark green. And now I'm going to grab our character's foot and make that a brown color. And call that shoes. We're now going to get another material for the eyes. So we're going to go in here, grab these little faces we made earlier. Also going to grab these inside ones so we can get that all set to black. Set that to the new material, name it eyes, and make that black. Come out of edit mode into object mode, grab the beard, and give that a black. Is it black? It's kind of a light brown actually. A light brownish color. Oh, and the wrists. I forgot the wrists. Set that to be a grey. A bit brighter than that. I'm going to jump back into layout, go into shaded, and I'm going to right click to shade smooth. And my god, that is kind of scary looking actually. It looks okay. The eyes are a bit small and the forehead is huge, but that is okay. He doesn't have a nose! Oh. Do they have noses in RuneScape? Yeah, they do. It's just very pointy. Okay. So how are we going to do a nose now that we've already made the most of the model? What I'm going to do to bring out a nose is I'm just going to use the knife tool, and I'm going to cut out a little nose-esque shape here. Comes down into a point, grab these faces, extrude them out, scale it down, bring them in. He's got kind of a nose now, I guess. Although he is still missing a chin. But you can't really tell because he's got the beard. I'm going to grab this top part of the head here, which is very spiky. I'm going to bevel that to make it a bit more rounded. And there we have a kind of RuneScape looking character. And I really think the lack of a chin is killing this dude. I'm going to hide the beard quickly, and then we're going to bring this out. There we go. He's got a bit of a chin now. Let's try and get a better color for that shirt. Darker, more saturation. We're now going to give him an armature so he has the ability to move. I'm using the add-on Rigify, which you can get by going to Edit, Preferences, typing in Rig here, and then just ticking Rigify. We want to make sure he is on the ground. So let's put him on the floor. We're going to go Add Armature Basic Human Meta Rig. We're going to turn that around and match it up to his size. Also going to set it to be in front on the viewport display. Now we've rotated it, we're going to press Ctrl A and apply the rotation to it. We are then going to go into edit mode, and we are going to just line up the bones with where they should be on the body. Going to make sure they are all inside of him. Just keep on moving them about until all the bones are inside of your model. We want this to be on the heel, and we want this to be here. Make sure everything is nicely aligned. And when that's done, I'm going to click on our meta rig, go back into object mode, go to the data tab and press generate rig. Whoops, before you do that, you want to Control A, apply the scale, apply the rotation, apply the location, everything, and then you want to press generate rig. Now we don't need the meta rig anymore, so we're going to hide that. Click on the mesh and then click on the rig, right click, parent using automatic weights. Now when we click on the rig, we should be able to jump onto pose mode, and we've got a moving guy. We can rotate these different parts. We're going to set this to be in front so we can actually see it. So this is our rig. We should now just be able to position him, and hopefully this will look all right when we move these about. Now we have a model that we can just mess around with, give him some animate. Oh, his beard is not moving. We're also going to want to pair the beard to our rig as well, so that everything moves together. I mean, it moves alright. Thank you for watching. If you would like to see more game dev content, please subscribe. If you have any questions about how I made this model, or questions about how to make other models, then please leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you have any ideas for how I could improve the model, then please leave them in the comments as well. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.